Okay, Namaste. I had somebody send in a question about meditating and whether they should think about it or what to do. So I'll read the question. The question was, Namaste Guruji and all. Me again. Question came up when I sit to do balanced breath meditation. Even though I had a knee-jerk reaction before, I feel calmer. The emotion goes away. But if I sit and think of the knee-jerk reaction, then images and snippets of old-time scenes come up that seems to relate to the reaction itself, like childhood sorrows that came from parents, teachers, so-called friends, comments, etc. Which is the correct sitting down? Do I need to be thinking or meditating? Seems like thinking gets me somewhere closer to an answer to a reaction, but the actual lack of thinking, aka mind spin, is what one needs to look for or ease into, is it not? Thank you. So anyway, if you are in the midst of what I'm saying, when people have a knee-jerk reaction, that you sit with it, doesn't mean that you necessarily are going to be entertaining the mind spin and getting caught up in another story about it. You feel the emotion of it and you see that it really relates to really not much that's going on in this moment, that it has to do with old patterns, old dramas, etc. This is the value when I've had people before go to sit for 10 days of Vipassana. Okay, not that I'm thrilled with Vipassana, because Vipassana has nothing to do with Kundalini, and Goenka doesn't understand the first thing about Kundalini. Okay, people that are going to that type of Vipassana, even though it's good on one hand, when they finally have Kundalini awakening, then they don't know what to do with it on that path. But it is good, like I said, for sitting, and seeing what's coming up in the emotions and drama and what happens in the body when it comes up. This adrenaline rush happens, this fight or flight response takes place. And again, if you sit with it for a while, you'll see, that really it has to do with past things more than it does with what's happening now. And so what one needs to get to the bottom of is where it originated from, not the knee-jerk reactionary drama that you're facing now. Don't project it out on that. Again, some people will come here, they have problems with authority. So anytime anything is stated here in an authoritative manner, there's a knee-jerk reaction and they want to blame it here. Well, it doesn't have to do with here. It has to do with their past reactions in childhood, etc., with authority, And so again, one has to, confront that and see what it is, just as the same thing if one has had trauma and one has developed PTSD, that, something that's remotely similar in nature will throw one back into that drama and that trauma, reliving it. But one has to realize it's not actually happening now, and that the only one you can come to at this point who's re-victimizing you is yourself. We keep re-victimizing ourselves with these traumas and dramas and knee-jerk reactionary things that come up. And so eventually we have to see that we are the ones that are holding that energy. We are the ones that are concocting that storyline, the blame game, the whatever, the poor me saga, the blame game, all of it that goes with it, we are constructing and holding it into place. So again, this is why it's of value when something comes up that one sits with it, not necessarily entertaining the millions of storylines that will run of the blame game, etc., etc. So one is not at that point to get caught up in stories and, yeah, that's it, and, go into that negative spin cycle again, but to look and see really where it stems from. And then at that point, eventually, it will release. Again, if you sit with that emotion, in time, it's going to release and you'll get to something that's deeper than that. And it will still and quieten down. But again, it's not to suppress things. This is not what the practices are there for, to repress and suppress. One has to eventually see and stop running. That's what the path is about. Stop running. You know, look genuinely at what is coming up. Again, don't layer it on something that's happening now. If you're having a knee-jerk reaction, way over the top for what what's being presented, then again, it's got something to do with something past that one hasn't dealt with or hasn't gotten to the bottom of or doesn't know how to navigate. So again, then come back to that sitting with it. Again, this is sometimes the value if one's doing a 10-day meditation sit. Now, don't all of you run out and want to run over there to do a 10-day now, just because I've said that. But the reason that I say that is because you're sitting for 10 days. You're not interacting anywhere. Well, if you're just sitting and then all of a sudden this stuff is triggering, you can see that it's not the circumstances that you're in now. All you're doing is sitting. Okay? So you can see that this is coming up from somewhere else. Okay, so you sit through it. You can't run off and do something else and get caught up in something else. You have to sit. This is again the value why the Buddhists have 3 years, 3 months, 3 days where they are confined into a cave or they sit in a box upright in meditation all evening, because they have to encounter the mind and all the BS stories and dramas and the poor me sagas and everything that they've gathered in their life. The mind does not stop running when they go in the cave. It'll go even more so for a while, you know, even more so of all these things that you collected, all your storylines, all your poor me sagas, all of your projections, oh, I wish, and all the rest of it is going to come up. So that's the time to sit and to really watch what the mind is doing and how it's running and how it's just feeding off of itself and creating a lot of drama, a lot of needless drama. So again, that's the benefit, but one does not, you know, as I stress on this path, one does not have to run away and sit in a cave to do it. Okay, you can do it where you're at. One can do it where they are at. You don't need to go to a cave, and really you don't need to go sit in a 10-day Vipassana course. The only thing of value with that is that you can see that it's not what's triggering it, whatever you think it is triggering it, and you want to project it out and blame for it. You can see that it's not that. If you're just sitting for 10 days straight, then you have nothing really there to trigger it. So all the drama that's coming up is just drama that keeps recycling. And so it's a little easier to see it that way. That's all. So I hope that answers your question. It's not the time then to run away from anything. Sit through it. Look deeper. Don't get caught up in the storyline. Keep bringing yourself back to, in this moment, the only thing that is happening is X, Y, Z, and really look at what's triggering and what the effects are that it's causing in the body, in the form, this fight or flight thing, and say, what is there to run away from, and why do I want to fight? Look at it deeper. Then maybe you'll get some answers, and you can start breaking some of these cycles and go forward in your life. I hope that answered it. Namaste.